Thanks. Can I call on Mr. Liu?
Mr. President, Parliamentary College, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honour and a humbling experience to be standing here in this grand Parliament House. First, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custom of the land that we govern and pay respect to the elders past, present and emerging. Today, I ask you to share with me a very special experience, an achievement that I would not have dreamt or imagined. Because standing before you is a person not born in this country, English is not my first language, and like many other Australians whose family come from a distant land, my family was among the thousands of boat refugees that arrived and settled in Australia with nothing but the clothes on their back. Fast forward 44 years, here I am, standing in the highest office in this state, as the first Australian Vietnamese Liberal member of Victorian Parliament. A very proud moment for my family and a remarkable achievement for a little boy who arrived in this country with his family in search of freedom and with aspiration for a brighter future. It demonstrates to the hundreds and thousands of refugees and migrants who came to this country in search of a better life that with hard work and determinations, anything is possible in a free and democratic society. It also validates the men and women who legislate the welcoming of refugees from Indochina, fleeing from a communist dictatorship over 45 years ago. An immigration policy formed on compassionate principle while maintaining our national sovereignty. What economic investment outlay the government of the day was willing to burden the nation, our country has benefited tenfold, as those newcomers settle, integrate into our society and call Australia home. I am honoured to say it was the Liberal government, led by our 22nd Prime Minister, Malcolm Fraser, who implemented these policies. This is my story, and my journey began on the 3rd of March 1979, when I was hassled in the middle of the night by my parents onto a boat in the harbour of Gamal on the southern coast of Vietnam. Overcrowded and packed like sardines, the boat made its way out to sea. After a few days into our journey, we came across something that no one anticipated: the encounter of sea pirates. They robbed and towed our boats until they were satisfied there's nothing left. And as soon as the boat was cut loose, we were intercepted and boarded again by another two vessels. This went on for 7 days and nights, and the shortage of fresh water was becoming a greater threat as so many people were on board. Finally, reaching the coast of Malaysia, the mixture of joy, relief and excitement was overwhelming as people caught sight of land in the distance. But as the boat got close to shore, we were faced with another obstacle. The Malaysian Coast Guard denied us entry and towed our boat back out to sea. After several attempts at landing, people feared we were going to be forced back out to the open sea. The human instinct of survival kicked in, as the individual took matters into their own hand. As a result, the boat was taking water. The next thing I knew, I was clinging on to my dad as he made his way to shore. So as you can see, the concept of turning back the boat is nothing new. Whether these actions are right or wrong, those in position of power must understand that every course of action, there are consequences that follow. So having survived a looming sea journey, life then shows you another meaning of hardship and uncertainty, as time stood still for those who remain in a refugee camp. Just picture barbed wire fences, makeshift shelter, your daily food are rationed, no TV, no air conditioning, and definitely no couches. You're lucky to have some chairs. We can use showers and open pit latrine. These were the conditions the people had to endure for years as they waited for the refugee application to be accepted. experiences and images that are forever embedded in my childhood memories. Some say it is the challenge in your life that shape who you are. I believe it's the love of family and those around you. Because I'm blessed with two loving parents who sacrificed their lives so I can have a brighter future. They gave up all the pleasure in life and the educational opportunity in a new country in pursuit of work and to provide their family and rebuild a new life. In doing so, I watched my parents tolerate social and racial discrimination with the little language they had. Feeling helpless and unable to do anything at the time, this is something I am determined to correct. I believe in strong family value, and access to good education are essential for every Australian, as it provides opportunities and choices later in life, as I have discovered. Having completed my HSC at Blackburn High and continuing on studying at civil engineering at RMIT, it was during these years when I realised my true calling, which is to help others. Much of a shock and surprise to my parents when I joined Victorian Police. Throughout my policing career, I served with distinction and integrity, including the recognition and assisting in bridging the gap between Victoria Police and the Vietnamese community. But in recent time, for a person whose entire life of championing freedom and equality, the right to expression and free speech, I am deeply concerned about how a narrative can turn the course of history, where one group can have so much influence on authority and media that they are free to demonstrate their democratic right to march, speak, and protest en masse. And yet, in similar circumstances, another group is quickly shut down, labelled, and judged without due process, experience the full force of the law. I hope my time in this chamber is long enough to have some variation to this imbalance of fairness and equality. Serving the community is my drive, but the desire to serve one's nation was a void I need to fulfil. Judging my family commitment and career, I enlisted into the Australian Army Reserve. There are many highlights through my 19 years of service, but the most significant achievement was when I led a section of military police through the Alpine region in the northwest Victoria during the 1919 and 1920 bushfire state emergency, supporting local authorities in evacuating residents from the fire front. As I was helping those evacuees from their home and displaced family at the evacuation centre, seeing the facial expression of despair, loss, hopelessness, and gratitude in these families who had lost everything brought back some memories as images of my past flooded back. I come to realise that the wheel has turned full circle. Once a refugee and stateless, now in a position to help displaced citizens of a country that took me in. So as I'm standing here, capitalising on this moment, I am grateful for the opportunity that Australia has given my family, the freedom and security to live and enjoy life without fear of persecution. I am grateful to the Fraser government for its immigration policy and the role it plays in resettling hundreds and thousands of refugees and asylum seekers, including my family. This is something the Vietnamese community in Australia will never forget. I'm sure those in the gallery today of Vietnamese heritage will agree with me. I am grateful to the 11 lower house candidates and all the volunteers for their hard work and dedication, and to the people of the Western Metropolitan Region for entrusting me with the honour of representing them in the 60th Parliament. It is a privilege I will not take lightly or neglect. I will work extremely hard to uphold the expectation. The Western Metropolitan Region, with its 11 districts, covers from Footscray to the outer west Werribee, and which is far north of Sunbury, with its southern coastline expanding to Point Cook, the birthplace of Australian Royal Air Force. The region has rapidly growing population, over 500,000 people, with culture and heritage extending from all over the world. The community also had their own family story of survival, personal sacrifices, and hardship in the journey of settlement in Australia. Before today, I had the honour of representing the West as a local councillor at Greenbank City Council, one of the 6 councils within the region. Like all neighbouring councils, Western Metropolitan lacks the connectivities and major infrastructure to keep up with the growing population. Its road and major carriageway are in desperate need of upgrading, and in places throughout the region, the absence of different mode of public transport is a common theme. This is compounded by growth area being dependent on an out-of-date bus service system. Through private enterprise, housing and new development are emerging to meet the demand, and the government's happily to collect the taxes and levy, but the failure to invest and implement critical civic infrastructure and sustainable urban planning has left the West decades behind the rest of the world, the rest of the state. The people of the Western Metropolitan region sent us a message in the last state election. The West is no longer accept second best and Band-Aid solution. The West will no longer be landfill or a dumping ground for the state. Their message is clear. I hear them, and I will be their voice. I will advocate for those minority groups and be the voice of those multicultural communities. I will also want to strengthen the pride in our Australian flag, appreciate our veterans, ensure future generations recognise the contributions these servicemen and women made to our country, acknowledge their service, honour those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice, defending democracy under our flag, so that we can have freedom and liberty, which are so often taken for granted. Let us not forget, it is not only white Australians who serve and fallen. There are Asian Australians and thousands of Indigenous Australians who volunteered. They also fought in these conflicts for our democracy. Is it freedom that hundreds and thousands of people around the world at this very moment are seeking and risking their lives for? Mr. President, the pursuit of freedom and equality is in my upbringing. I believe in true democracy and deliver equal opportunity for all, regardless of race, colour, religion, or where you live. As for inspiration, I refer to Dr. Martin Luther King, a renowned civil rights movement leader. I had a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they're not judged by the colour of their skin, but the content of the character. I too share that dream with my 5 children who are with us today, Kimberly, Josephine, Stephanie, Genevieve and Michael. They shall live in a free society, fulfil their dream, contribute to their country, and not judged by their gender, their faith, race or postcode, but rather on their character and abilities. This is why I'm standing in this grand house. This is why I returned my badge and step aside from a distinguished policing career of 28 years. I want to break down that unconscious bias and stereotype. I want to lay a foundation for fostering cultural diversity leadership and help take down the bamboo ceiling. The Australian Human Rights Race Discrimination Commissioner, Chin Tan, tabled Leading for a Change in his report. It indicates 95% of senior leaders in Australia are Anglo-Celtic or European heritage, and only 5% are non-European or Indigenous in leadership role. Although these groups make up 24%, almost a quarter of Australian population. The Chancellor of Australian National University, Professor Gareth Evans, proclaimed in his speech, and I quote, "Asian Australians have been underappreciated and underutilised in our listed company and public institutions for far too long." Whether you agree with this academic assessment or not, you must look around this room and in the Assembly chamber next door, then you understand. If Australia is truly a land of fair go, we, as a nation, got to do better. I am not suggesting any type of quota, but rather equal opportunity and genuine reward for efforts. Because taking the easy option isn't always the best solution. I intend to unshackle the chain of stereotype and unconscious bias in all key institutions. Australia has a pool of diverse leadership style from all over the globe, and yet we are ignoring our homegrown talent because of unconscious bias and stereotype in diverse communities. What I say to these key stakeholders, leaders, senior executives and CEOs of institutions in private and public sectors, do not mistaken that quiet, reserved, humble, and respectful personalities as a trait of weakness. I am voicing to ensure that our country, states, and all leaders start recognising and utilising the resource and talents our homegrown community has to offer. Many examples of young talents from multicultural communities have come to light in recent time. In my journey, I thank the former leader, Matthew Guide, and our current leader, John Pizzuto. Because of their family background and upbringing, they recognise my fight and the great potential in multicultural communities have to offer. They supported my quest and helped make today's experience an extraordinary one. I am proud and honoured to be part of this Liberal parliamentary team because what you have here is a true reflection of our community. A broad, diverse group of people who is not afraid to stand up for their belief. A group of people who is willing to call a spade and hold the belief that the contest of idea is how democracy society evolve and progress. Not counseling those who have a different point of view, to sing the same song, but rather encourage new ideas and debates. I'd now like to acknowledge and thank a few people that make today's possible. Ms. Deborah Atkins and Elias Burgess, thank you very much for your loyal support and for believing in me and being part of my political journey. Mr. Raymond Federico, thank you very much for your continued support in the Vietnamese community over the past 30 years and the strong support of my campaign. To all the Liberal volunteers, especially the 11 lower house candidates, Maria, Golem, Joseph, Angela, Simone, Raja, John, Pri, Emmett, Dara and Alan, thank you for your hard work and dedication. As a result, we now have 2 Liberal members in the upper house for the Western Metro region. To all the loyal Liberal members in the West, thank you very much for staying true blue through all the hard time. Your efforts and ongoing support throughout the years have made this possible. Thank you to my Federal Parliament colleagues, Keith Houlihan, James Patterson and Michael Sugar for your support. And to my brothers and sisters, uncle and auntie in the Vietnamese community. And to all the members, volunteers, current and past executive committees of the VCA, which is the Vietnamese Community Australia Victorian Chapter, thank you very much for your encouragement and support in my campaign, in reaching out to the community and supporting the volunteers at the polling booth. And to my mum and dad, Teok and Mok Tan, thank you for your love and sacrifice. The foundation you outlaid for me with family value, compassion and love has shaped me the person I am today, and I'm better for it. To my wife, Chi, thank you very much for your love and support through the election campaigns and for providing us with 5 beautiful children and the Liberal Party 5 future members. As I would like to put it, it's the beginning of the Liu dynasty. Without you, this would not be possible. And to my 5 beautiful children, Kimberly Ng, Josephine Ting Nhi, Stephanie Ting Nga, Genevieve Ngọc and Michael Wan Long Lu, this is for you. I know you understand when you get a bit older, but today, to enjoy the moment, and happy birthday, Genevieve. So, in closing, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to leave you with this. If we're seeking true equality, it is equal opportunity for all. No individual, no group or race should have more privilege, resources, or rights over another, regardless of their status. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time and those who attend today's experience. Thank you very much.